Hi everyone. The smoke is worse than ever. There was a point in time today, one of my customers pointed out, look, you can see a little bit of blue sky through the smoke. And then the wind blew in, and it blew in more smoke than I've ever seen before. It is terrible out there. My wife opened the windows tonight to try to get some fresh air in the house, and boy, that was a huge mistake. It just blew in a waft of this smoke. So voice is raspy again, eyes are sore, got a headache. What are you going to do? Hopefully, the forest fire situation gets a little bit more under control before I take my annual fall holidays. As some of you might know, I usually take a few weeks in the fall, and I'm ambling around up in the bush and enjoying myself exploring and whatnot. And it's not going to be really that pleasurable. I take a lot of camera gear and I take a drone so I can take aerial photography. It's not going to be that enjoyable if you can't see anything. Anyway, I wanted to respond to some comments that were left on my recent couple of videos responding to John the Other. And I found some of the comments interesting, and of course, obviously, some of them are informative, and some of them I would push back against, and so that's, I think, always healthy. That's to me, and the dog is barking, that should be the appropriate use of the tool as far as I'm concerned, both the internet and then just public discourse in the first place. Calm, reasoned debate and discussion and correction of one another and helping to provide information where there may be a vacuum, help people see the error of their ways in certain ways and that sort of thing. I'm going to get the dog, then I'll talk about some of these comments. All right, back. Boy, it's awful out there. Anyway, Deconverted Man commented on my video and said, I would love to do a hangout with you on freedom of speech and such, let me know. And I would certainly be more than willing to do that, Deconverted Man. I think you've already emailed me, so I'll get it when I get a chance over the weekend here. I'll respond to you. Really, for me, it's just a matter of timing and all of that. In another comment, he just sort of said, "Where have you been?" Well, I've just been working. I've been working my tail off, and there's enough things to do around the property on my off time, and then running a business as a one-man show takes all my time. Disidentity responded and said, not in a million years I'd expect you to know of John the Other, let alone watch or respond to his videos. Consider me very intrigued. I've enjoyed John the Other's content for quite some time. I find him to be an interesting and obviously a fairly cerebral guy. He's a smart guy and he makes some good videos. And then, the normal disclaimer that comes along that people feel obligated to say. I don't agree with everything he says, which should be obvious. I can't think of a lot that I disagree with John on, but it seems to me this is one of these aspects of our current culture is that if you say you like a person, suddenly it's very binary, right? It's, you're with us or against us. So if you say you like somebody, that means you automatically endorse every aspect of that person. And obviously that's silliness. I like a lot of content, some of which I disagree with strongly and some of which I agree with strongly and everything in between. And I feel like there's value to be taken from any point on that spectrum, whether it's you're sort of taking it in the positive or in the negative. And with John the Other, again, he's someone, as I expressed in my last video, that I would like to hang out with. I think he's an interesting enough guy that I'd really like to just shoot the shit with him. And I think he's very right on a lot of what he says. So that's where I'm at with John the Other. Let's see. Lucas responded and said, great video. I generally agree with your thoughts you're putting forward here. Nazi is not a term I'd use lightly, but to your claim that there are no Nazis in 2018, I wonder if this is just semantics. There are people in 2018 who espouse Nazi ideology, and they exist in great enough numbers in the U.S. to organize events that garner international attention. Why, in your opinion, would it be inappropriate to label them as Nazis? Well, and to the second part of your question here, I would say it is not inappropriate to label who you're specifically referring to as Nazis. I guess the question I would have is as to the usefulness of the term itself, because it's the appropriate application of the term that is at issue here for me. And so I'll go on with the comment. I'd point to the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville last year as an example where Nazi iconography and slogans were displayed and chanted openly to show that these aren't simply white supremacists, nationalists. A collection of live stream clips from the event are documented in a video here. And he goes on, and there's some timestamps in there, and you can see, if you go to that comment on my video, you can see the link to the YouTube video he's referring to. And at 42:17 is particularly damning. 2818 shows swastika flags and other symbols. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Well, my thoughts are this. I had not seen that previously, and these people are obviously very reprehensible. These are, if there's a current definition of Nazis, since no one has actually built gas chambers and rounded up Jewish people, these are as close as it comes. I mean, this guy's saying, what is the first precept of the alt-right? And that is gas the kikes, race war now, I think is what he says. And I'm not going to censor my speech here because this is, as far as I'm concerned, this is not me, obviously, making a derogatory remark about a group of people. To me, this is news reporting. And a news reporter needs to accurately reflect what the language was that was used. We're all grown-ups here, and if we're not, then I'd advise you to click off the video. And he goes on to say, and other people are yelling from the audience, where are the ovens? And these kinds of things. And they have signs that say, you know, stop Jewish control of America, something like that. The problem here is, okay, yes, these are Nazis. These are modern-day Nazis. So I'm unhappy to be corrected that there are such horrible people. I don't like this term that people use. You know, Ben Shapiro has been using this term lately, garbage humans. And I don't like that phrase, but boy, if there's anything close to garbage humans, these would be them, right? And I don't know what it is that creates people like this, and in a way, I don't really, well, I shouldn't say I don't really care. It's bigger than I am, right? And this is typically quite regional. Like where I live, there's no such thing as that. Like we don't have anybody like that around here. And you know, maybe aside from watching the news and watching the YouTube sphere and the Twitter sphere and all this, maybe that's why I'm somewhat insulated from it and was not aware of these particular people. It's clearly reprehensible. Here's the issue, though. And we're going to get to this in a comment on another part of the video here that illustrates the point. If we label them Nazis, then we need to be very careful about our application of the term Nazis. And that's really what I was getting at before, is we've lost the discourse because we've replaced facts with feelings in the modern era. That seems to be what everybody puts any kind of weight on, is feelings over facts. And so if I feel like you're a Nazi, well, then you're a Nazi. What seems to be gone is calling bullshit. And nobody seems to be willing to do that. There's a few people that do it. Tucker Carlson is an interesting example. He's got his own issues, but you know, again, I don't endorse everything Tucker Carlson, but he's very good at calling bullshit, at just asking the question. I'm constantly yelling at the television or the computer when I hear people say things that are clearly outrageous, beyond hyperbole. And modern media doesn't call them on it. I'll give you an example, and this is not a defense of Trump, because Trump has got his own problems with hyperbolic language. And some people say, well, hyperbole is important sometimes to get your point across. Not when it becomes counterfactual. Like that's beyond hyperbole. Hyperbole is supposed to be sort of an inflating of the truth, right? When it's counterfactual, well, that's called a lie. And a lot of it is very insidious, and it's very, as I mentioned in my previous video, it is dog whistle-ish. It appeals to people who are already believing in the conclusion that you're trying to put forth. And so this forms then at that point, because they're not that critical of it when they hear it, then it forms part of their basis for the reason that they are pro or con, whatever it is you're putting forth. So there was this hubbub recently about John Brennan losing his security clearance. Donald Trump had removed his security clearance. And there was some discussion on, I don't know, CNN, NBC, whatever it was. And they were saying that this is what dictators do. Now, what they're referring to is the removal of the security clearance. And then he went on to list a bunch of things that Trump hasn't done. So he says, this is what dictators do, or tyrants do. You know, they quash the press. They put their opposition in, or they jail their opposition, and something else. And so that's an interesting bit of sophistry there to say, removing this guy's security clearance. This is what dictators do. They quash the press and they put their opponents, their opposition, in jail. Well, he hasn't done either of those things. So this you know, glaring counterfactual stuff actually forms part of the narrative after that. And nobody called the guy on that. Well, he hasn't actually put any of his opposition in jail, and actually, he just says nasty things about the press, but he hasn't done anything to the press. This whole idea that the press is somehow having their freedoms removed by the president simply because he says that it's fake news or enemy of the people or whatever. They've got the big bully pulpit too to push back against that, and obviously they're free to do that. And the best way to do that, of course, would be to call bullshit and say, no, what we just said there is not fake news, Mr. President, and here's why. And lay out the facts and challenge him to counter those facts, right? We've lost that ability to just break things down to basic facts and demand an argument be made for a position. So when you see people like Stefan Molyneux, Lauren Southern, Stephen Crowder being called alt-right, being called Nazis, being called white supremacists, this is done in an attempt to paint them with the same brush as these ass clowns in Charlottesville who were actually saying, gas the kikes, race war now. And too many people are willing to just, oh, did someone say Nazi? Let's go punch, right? This is the call to arms now. And that's what it is, without any responsibility on the part of the labeler to demonstrate the veracity of this claim that these people want certain other peoples dead. And I'm not, and of course there's a difference here. When we come to freedom of speech, Deconverted Man asked me if I would do a live stream or whatever, hangout on freedom of speech. I am a big free speech proponent. I think that's the only way that we reach any kind of true liberal/libertarian open free society is with free speech. I don't think there's anything such thing as hate speech. I think there's such thing as hateful speech. The only kind of speech that I would be concerned about would be speech directly inciting people to act against other people. I don't think hate is a crime, actually. I think it's unfortunate. I think it's generally misguided. I think it's not something that, I think even just ostracism is one way to deal with hate. If you find people in your life that express hateful views, racist views towards other people, I think you let them know where you stand. You say, I don't hang with racists. I don't hang with hateful people. But it's not illegal to be a racist. It's just shitty, right? And I think sunlight is the best disinfectant. And I'm not sure that you accomplish much by punching anybody. Anyway, I think this is a very, very... I realize that punching someone is offensive, like it's an offense, right? You're acting in the offense. But it seems very cowardly to me. And I'm not sure that it accomplishes anything. This is the problem with just dismissing your opponents, thinking that if you call someone a racist, supremacist, bigot, homophobe, whatever, that you've somehow removed them from the dialogue. Well, you haven't. They still vote, still have the ability to vote. They still meet with like-minded people, etc., etc. Better you should expose their ideas for the faulty ideas that they are, and hope to spread the news to other people that their ideas are faulty, and at least have enough integrity to back up your claims. We'll move on to some other comments. All right, I hate having to split videos up in 15 minutes, but I use iMovie app to upload my videos. It seems to be the only app that really works. I use an iPhone to record, and it seems to be the only app that really works to record and upload videos, but for some reason they think that the YouTube limit is 15 minutes. It's probably just as well because, as many of you know, I have a terrible ISP, so uploading videos is a dicey proposition for me in the first place. Trying to upload a video longer than 15 minutes is not really going to work. J.I. Person, I think it is, commented on my video and said, the rights of the people that want the rights of other people to be removed should be protected vehemently. So this is a little bit of a clue and a hint as to what this person is getting at, and I asked them to elaborate. In part 2 of this video, I will read you a little bit of this person's other comment where they talked about punching Nazis, and they're pro that. So we'll talk about that in part 2 of this video. Thanks very much for watching.